Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. Before I go into this, excuse any sounds of thunder or anything like that in the background. There's currently a storm rolling through here, and I would wait for it to pass, but it's summertime on the coastal side of South Carolina. You know, we're gonna get storms almost every day, and I prefer to make videos in the midst of the storm. No, I'm just kidding. So if you just hear any of that, just put it out of your thoughts and minds. I'm okay unless the power goes out, which it shouldn't, but moving on. Okay, so I recently did the video about the Cursed Sands, the issue with Bolthorn. And I wanted to do a separate video like I did with Lord Ramiel and talk about my thoughts on Bolthorn. Now, on the video with Ramiel, I compared Ramiel to my character Ruth. This, I don't want to compare Bolthorn to my Raider character just yet, because I want to actually release my Raider's story in a Legends video before I actually reveal too much about that. I want it to kind of be a surprise, right? But I do want to talk about Bolthorn because I think there's stuff to really discuss with his character. Just a few things anyway. So one thing that I actually like about Bolthorn's story, and if you haven't heard the story, go watch my recent video on it. But the thing about Bolthorn's story that I really like is I actually like it a bit more than Ramiel's, and let me pan out why. With Ramiel's, the only thing I really liked about Ramiel, like character-wise, was the fact that his emotions were stunted because of his immortality. Because I think that that's a good character depth in that regard, but there wasn't anything else about Ramiel that really stood out to me. I mean, he had a pact with dragons, he had a lot of followers, and all that, but as a character, I didn't really see much. With Bolthorn, though, I saw a lot more character. Actually, a very flawed character. You got this guy who believes so firmly in trying to protect his people and trying to help his people that he's willing to put aside his honor for their sake, which is interesting because this game is all about characters upholding their honor, their codes, their, you know, all that kind of stuff. And in this case, he puts it aside for his own benefit and for the benefit of his people. And he does what he thinks is best for his people, regardless of honor, which blurs the line of where honor stops. Does honor stop with you doing what's necessary for your people? Like, is that honorable? Even if it means breaking rules and breaking ties or breaking agreements? Because he made an agreement with the fellow he met in the tomb. I will not touch the scarab bracelet. I will not take it. I'll leave it alone, as you requested. But for the sake of his people and for his own sake, to save his own life, he decides to break that promise. Is that dishonorable, or is it more honorable to help your people? That's a real question we should ask. And I think that Bolthorn has to ask that question. Anyway, he gets the scarab bracelet, and he makes it back home. Now, the interesting thing is also, if you pay close attention to the story, he explains that when he gets home, he's carrying behind him 2 big chests or bags of treasure. So his adventure wasn't fruitless outside of the scarab bracelet. He got stuff, he found stuff, but he recognized that the treasures he got was not enough to save his people. What I also like about the story is it doesn't specify when this story takes place. Is it shortly after the events with Ramiel? Is it during the period of the Horkos campaign? We don't know. But what we do know is that Valkenheim is suffering. He goes out to try to save it, comes back with this ancient relic, and tries to use it to save people. And I thought that's interesting. I like the fact that Bolthorn is being active in the salvation of his people, and I also like that he has to question his own code of honor in order to put his people first. Like, he has to put aside that code. Now, here's my problem, though. This is one of my problems with Bolthorn's story, and I hope y'all understand me when I say this. I don't like the scarab bracelet as a concept. Hear me out. The bracelet supposedly gives you the power to turn back death, to basically prevent death, to keep you alive, to save people who would otherwise die, right? And that's cool. That's a neat idea. But isn't that exactly what the chalice was that Ramiel had? You basically drink the blood of the dragons and it makes you immortal. It staves off death. It's kind of the same thing. The difference, though, here is that the bracelet also comes at the cost of bringing a plague down upon Heathmore. Why? And no, hear me out. I recognize, like, think about the Holy Grail, you know? You live forever, but your family and friends all die around you. You still have the benefit of immortality, but everyone else around you dies. If the bracelet has the power to prevent death, and also to provide life to those who would otherwise have died. Because remember, in his duel with Njal, he brings back Njal from death. He touches him, brings him back to life. He can restore life with this bracelet. So why is everything dying? Why is everyone dying? I mean, is this like dark magic and like blood magic or something from the Dragon Age, or somehow dark magic like to bring back a life you must sacrifice a life? Is that what this is? Because it doesn't make sense. He only brings back his own life before he died and brings back Njal. But everyone's dying. Everyone's falling to death. Frogs are falling from the sky. The water is turning to blood. Like, how is the bracelet doing all this? If the bracelet's only job is to undo death, if the bracelet's only job is to provide life to whoever wears it and to whoever the wearer deems worthy, why wouldn't these plagues happen to the rest of Heathmoor? Like, what if, like, this is just a thought, what if the bracelet provided a blessing to Valkenheim and only Valkenheim, but at the cost of Ashfeld, the Mire, and the Wulin? What if they had to suffer as a result of this bracelet, which upset the other two factions, and Bolthorn's kind of like, who cares about you two? This is the age of Valkenheim. This is our time. We're going to rise up against you, and y'all deserve it because I am Bolthorn, the mighty, you know, that kind of thing. Now, of course, Bolthorn can become a revenant, like he can become a dark, twisted entity like we saw in The Thing. But you know what? Maybe he's okay with that if it means that Valkenheim itself prospers, which was his goal in the first place. But then the Egyptian dude, the dude he met, has to show up and say, Bolthorn, you played with fire. And now you're making all these people suffer, and I can't turn a blind eye to it. Despite our friendship, I need to stand against you. And Bolthorn can say, well, I hate for you to have to do that, but if that's what you want to do, you're up against a god here. And so it becomes a battle against Bolthorn, the god, or Bolthorn, the god of death, or something like that. You could really stretch this idea and turn it into a whole new kind of back and forth war between the people who are suffering at the hands of Bolthorn and the people who are prospering under Bolthorn. Maybe you have some Vikings who even question Bolthorn, saying, hey, you know, we're all for Valkenheim pride, but this seems wrong. You know, what you're doing, it seems wrong. I mean, look at what it's done to you, and look at what it's done to Ashfeld and the Mire, you know? And depending on the time period in which this took place, if this incident is taking place, like, after the Truce of Wyverndale, what if these Vikings have friends in the Mire or in Ashfeld? Some of them might say, hey, hold on, those are our friends who are suffering and dying. But if this takes place before the rise of Ashfeld, like if this takes place in For Honor's ancient days, which it might, then, you know, it begs the question, how would the bracelet, why would Bolthorn even travel outside of Heathmoor in the first place? In fact, it begs the question, where is this Egyptian desert that they were talking about? When you look at the map, it doesn't appear that the desert should be anywhere. Where did Bolthorn go to reach this place? Clearly, he took a boat, because he's riding a boat back to Valkenheim, so he went away from the continent. How did he know that there was a desert out there? Did he just sail away and hope there was something out there? I don't know. Like, it seems a little weird, a little convoluted, but even if I buy it, without knowing the time period in which this takes place, I feel like there were better ways to emphasize this story. Now, don't get me wrong. What they gave is actually pretty good. I like the fact that the bracelet turns on Bolthorn. I like that. I like the fact that he played with fire and now he's burned. The problem I have is, again, I said this in my video, I thought there would be a part 4. Because the way it ended, I thought, we need to know more about what happened to Bolthorn himself. Like, it said that his veins were being filled with a blackness, and his skin was turning black, and he was losing feeling, and his heart wasn't beating as strong, and his breath felt shorter, like he was becoming a zombie or some kind of living dead. I want to know more about that. What if he was becoming a revenant? What if he was becoming a Draugr? What if he was becoming a monster of some kind? Go into more detail. What is the bracelet doing to him? By giving him eternal life, is it giving him unlife? Is it making him something inhuman? Expand on that. Is it turning him into the god of death? Expand on that. Give us more. Give us more information. Why is Valkenheim, Ashfeld, and the Mire suffering if the bracelet's goal? Because the guy said the bracelet can provide life. It doesn't look like that. It looks like it provided life twice, and now it doesn't do anything but bring a curse. I would think that maybe the bracelet would provide life to who the Deemer wanted, but at the cost of other people, you know? Like, there was this episode of Supernatural that I remember where this person gained control of a Reaper, like a person who kills people and takes their souls away, and she was using the Reaper to basically take life from people who were not going to die and give life to people who were destined to die, you know? And I don't know, I feel like that might have been a better idea. Like, by giving life to Valkenheim, you had to take life from Ashfeld or the Mire or something like that. By giving prosperity and crops and joy to Valkenheim, you have to steal the fertility of the Mire and Ashfeld or the Wulin. I think that would have been very interesting. And what if, I mean, we've got to learn more about the new hero when he shows up, but what if his people suffered a very similar fate, and that's why he knows what's going on? I think my conclusion here is this. While I think Bolthorn's story is better handled than Ramiel's, I feel like there needs to be a bit more to it, and I feel like they could have used it a bit better. I think it would have been incredibly unique if Valkenheim was prospering under this bracelet while all the rest of Heathmore was suffering, and that's why the new hero shows up, to put an end to this imbalance, to kind of like what the Kyoshin did, put an end to this imbalance, stop this wrong that's going on. The bracelet is corrupting Bolthorn, it's making Valkenheim inappropriately powerful, and it's killing Ashfeld and the Mire, and he needs to put a stop to it. So that would be a very interesting way to go. My problem is if the Egyptian, like whoever this guy is, he's coming over to stop Bolthorn, but Bolthorn wants himself to be stopped at this point because his people are dying. He's trying to take the thing off. It won't come off. Like, I don't know. I feel like there could have been a lot more done there, but for what we got, it's not bad. I think it was handled decently enough. The only problem I have is that the character skin is way too expensive, but as a story itself, it's pretty good. Bolthorn was executed very well. I liked the character having to struggle with his code of honor, mortality, fear of his people being lost. He has a lot of good things going on in his head. He has great motivation to do what he does. And I also like that the bracelet comes with a blessing and a curse. The problem is the blessing is greatly undermined by the curse, to the point that I wonder, was it even worth getting in the first place? Because I'd like to think, I'd like it if this bracelet had a good benefit combined with a great negative. Other than bringing Njal back to life and saving him from near death, what good came from the bracelet? Really? No, that's my question. The Egyptian, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but the Egyptian guy said it brings life. Well, in what regard? He only brought one person back to life and saved himself from dying. Other than that, all the bracelets brought is death, literally. So I'm thinking, he says, it's not meant for the hands of mortals. Then who made it? There's a question. Are you saying the Egyptian gods are legit? So we have evidence of the Norse gods being legit with Jormungandr. We have evidence of the Mire Kami being legit with the Shinigami and stuff like that in the Hitakiri's event. And we now have evidence of the Egyptian gods being a thing with this bracelet and its plagues. What are we just saying that this is a mishmash of all the gods? Well, the knights are kind of left out because we have no evidence towards the Christian god or the Greek and Roman gods. They're kind of left out. So I don't know. That's just nitpicking on my part at that point. But in the end, I would say Bolthorn the Cursed is a little better than Lord Ramiel's story. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I feel it could have been better, though. Here's hoping that the next skin that comes out gives us something even more interesting. But I wanted to share my thoughts on that so that y'all could hear them. Take them all with a grain of salt. And I will see you in my next video. Take care.